Okay, so I would say with this we can start yet another interview today with the eternal kiddo of the community, or so he's called sometimes, Smathlax. Welcome, glad you could join me.
Hello, thank you.
so, well, aside from this fantastic nickname, I think you're most known for being a 2K8 runner as well as also a Sense Trilogy runner, I would say. And would you quickly describe to us your first experiences with the pop series in a casual manner? Like, do you still remember the first pop game you played and how that was?
Okay, yeah. That would have been a very long time ago. I remember when I was like 4 years old and Warrior Within came out, and my older brother was playing that. That's the first experience of that I remember. And I never played it myself, but then when T2T came out, I did play that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I used to play that game over and over and over again. And then I played the entire Sans trilogy, and I used to play those over and over and over again. And then eventually I added 2K and TFS to that list, and basically my life as a 12-year-old or so was just playing those five games over and over and over again. So yeah, that was my first experience with the pop series in general, and then eventually in 2017, I discovered that speedruns of it exist. I think I saw a post on Reddit, which I don't even really use, but I was on Reddit for some reason, and then I saw a Prince of Persia speedrun. I think it was a Warrior Within run with zips by Kotti, so a very old one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is something new to me. I mean, if you see zips for the first time, I think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and then I discovered the pop community. I started watching some pop streamers. And then 2 years down the line, I started speedrunning myself. Um, and here I am today.
Right. So we'll get to all those points eventually. One quick, like, final casual question: What before you got into contact with speedrunning, could you even pick a favorite pop game to play, or because like you played all of them all the time,
Mhm.
like would you say it's like you loved all of them equally?
Um, I definitely loved all of them. I would say to me probably Warrior Within stood out quite a lot. I think just as a kid, the theme of that game is quite dark, and um, I enjoyed that quite a lot. I think now as an adult, I kind of look at, for example, the Two Thrones, and I think that game actually deals with some philosophical questions that are quite interesting. And for example, when in the Two Thrones, the prince transforms from Dark Prince to normal Prince when he picks up the sword. I never understood that as a kid. Like, how does he do it? There's no water.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and now as an adult, I kind of understand that. So I think if I discovered the games now, perhaps the Two Thrones would be my favorite, just story-wise. But back then, I think Warrior Within resonated with me the most as a kid because it was just. Well, I really liked the theme and how the prince was fighting for his survival and doing his best, and it was just the Haka, big scary monster, you know. Um, so yeah, that's my answer to that.
Oh yeah. um so you already said that 2017 was when you came into contact with pop speedrunning. Was it also the first contact with speedrunning in general, or have you heard about in or participated in watching speedruns before, or something like that?
Um, for the most part, it was my first interaction with speedrunning as a whole. I think I'd heard of the concept of games done quick before. I think I'd seen a couple of videos on YouTube titled which had games done quick in their name. I didn't know what games done quick was.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't even know it was like an organization. I literally thought it was just like someone trying to do games quickly. Um, but other than that, other than literally having heard the name Games Done Quick, I would say it was my first interaction with speedrunning as a whole.
All right. So then you mentioned that 2 years after finding out about pop speedrunning, really, that's when you started. What's with the long wait? What took you so long?
Um, so actually, when I first discovered speedrunning, shortly after I saw the Warrior Within run, I actually didn't get into the community straight away. First of all, when I watched the video on YouTube of Cotty's run, YouTube eventually recommended me another speedrun video, and I believe that was actually Prince of Persia 2008 world record by Sam. So I watched that one and I loved it. I loved it even more. Surprise, surprise, by the way. And I watched the whole thing, and then I found Sam's Twitch channel, and I was just watching all of his past VODs of like his TFS runs and everything. And then I think he probably mentioned a Discord, and eventually I joined that. And because Sam had been running TFS recently, and that was what I'd seen a lot, I also wanted to run TFS. And really, the reason I didn't is it's not a very good reason, but essentially I couldn't get a hold of a controller, and then I just got kind of lazy. Um, Obviously nowadays that wouldn't stop me, but nowadays, of course, I'm already deep within the community. But when
Right.
you're new, something as small as not having a controller can stop you. And what's funny is actually I have now run the Forgotten Sands, and I run it on mouse and keyboard. So my reason was just complete inexcusable, but that was my reasoning. Yeah.
Your excuse is totally void by now.
Oh, and by the way, when I did eventually get into speedrunning, it was you that motivated me for that. Because I remember on Kata's Discord, I said I wanted to run SOT or something, and then you reacted with a Prince Glare emote.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, Toka the Great reacted to my message. I need to keep my promise now and run SOT.
No pressure, but I'm watching you, kid. Right. I actually do remember that. Yeah. Um. So over the years, you've done speedruns of Sands of Time, like the Sands trilogy, and 2K8 as well as Forgotten Sands.
Hmm.
Which one of those is your favorite to run? Where the definition of favorite is up to you.
Okay. Well, I think however you put it, it does have to be 2K8 at the end of the day, which I think you probably already knew the answer to that. Um, as for why is the more interesting question.
Hmm.
Um, I think one reason for that is just that it's a it's a less explored game, or at least it was when I started. I mean, it had some big findings when I started. Barrier skip was just recently found, which was huge at the time. But even though barrier skip was found, there was still so much to find, and I just had so much motivation to keep finding and finding and finding things and improving the run, that I was kind of a pioneer in that game, or at least I was able to be. Whereas when I looked at something like the Sands of Time, I kind of felt like mostly everything was already found because so many people had already been playing it for so many years. And so, sure, someone like Yaka came along and still destroyed everyone, but I feel like mostly did that with just his skill and learning the game well rather than finding more skips. I think nothing drastic was found since Yaka started running the Sands of Time, and whereas that's really not the case with 2K8. We found a lot of new things in 2K8. So yeah, I would say it definitely has to be 2K8, probably mostly for that reason.
Okay. So would you say you get more enjoyment out of speedrunning when it like due to the exploration part, like finding new things, new strategies, glitches, or the optimization part? Or an equal mixture, maybe? It's a spectrum after all.
Mm, I suppose it is a mixture. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, I can if I ran Sands of Time, obviously I could optimize that more, but I don't really feel like I've got as much opportunity to strat hunt. And I actually did start out in 2K8 as just someone who looks for strats. And the only reason I even did the run was because I just wanted to familiarize myself with the run so that I could find more strats. So I think to me, strat hunting is probably more important. But also optimization is definitely there too. I think in some sense the two terms overlap. Like for example, if you find like some movement that saves 2 seconds, is that optimization or is that a new strat? You can kind of define that however you want. So um the big finding the big strats is definitely important for me, and even exploring strats that may not necessarily be viable, concubine blueless, um, is a lot of fun for me. But at the same time, looking for those extra few seconds to squeeze out just by improving movement, which you may call either strat hunting or optimization, is also fun for me. But when you put those two together, I think it's really what I like to do.
So we're already past the 10-minute mark, which is fine.
Oh, I
And
didn't know there was a 10-minute
yes,
mark.
there's an unofficial one. But let's ask a final question. Is there a memory that comes to mind related to pop speedrunning that you hold dear, that you think back upon and think this was really cool that this happened or that I was part of it?
Hmm.
It's a mean question. I know
Oh,
it's also very open ended. But
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I could say a few things
well,
purely
please, this is your
from
interview after all.
purely from my own perspective. Uh, One thing that stood out is when I first got in, like started get discussing things with people in the Discord in 2019, and when I found a strat in 2K8 that was viable in runs in 2019, and this was before I'd started running the game. And then Sam, I think, said, "Wow, that's actually a good strat." So that was actually quite a good feeling for me. Like it was my first contribution to
Hmm.
the community, essentially. I don't remember if we still use that strat. I think we use it in the Windmills individual level run, which is not too relevant, but still,
Yeah.
it was my first strat, so I was quite happy with that. The second thing would be when I got my first world record, which was in 2K8. I remember being very pleased about that. And I remember Sam was streaming at the time, and as soon as I got the world record, I went straight to his stream and I just started spamming. Um, I was like, I started explaining to him the entire run, what went wrong, and then my final time, and it was just such a good day. And then finally, I would say the other big thing would have been PoPRuns 4 when I got to meet all the people in real life. I think I had so much fun the entire weekend, even though I slept maybe like 4 or 5 hours a night. Um, it was so good. I didn't feel tired at any point because I was just enjoying it so much, just being there with all the people in real life. And when I got back from Pop Runs 4, I slept for 18 hours straight. So that just shows how tired I was. But while I was there, I did not notice at all. So yeah, maybe I said a bit too much on that, but I
Yes.
couldn't
How
really
dare
pick
you?
one thing.
How dare you answer my questions? Shall never be forgiven. Um, right. Okay. I think at this point, Orga has had enough time to set up the next game. Like, if you guys couldn't have done it in 15 minutes, then I'm sorry. That's what kind of organizers do we even have?
Hopefully whoever ran
Uh,
before this did not um go over estimate. So don't put this after a run that you think will go over estimate.
uh, All right, then I'd say that's it from us. Thanks a lot, Smath, for your time.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I highly enjoyed the interview. I think you asked some very good questions. I'm impressed, honestly.
well, thank you very much. I'm the best, basically, is what's being said here. And yeah, so that's it from us. And next up is some other run, which hopefully will not go overestimate.
Yes.
Have fun, guys.